today we're going to be reporting the news from 100 years ago this month.
Important news.
Important news. The most important news.
And your grandma actually might appreciate it.
Yes. Oh, yes. This was actually shortly after my grandmother was born. Because she's now... I keep looking at the camera, which is really bad, apparently.
I don't look at the camera.
Not for us, but for acting and stuff. I got called out on that in my short film.
Well, I feel like for a podcast, we're not looking at a camera, Eddie. We're looking at the world. Our 97 subscribers.
But yeah, so my grandma was about a month old when when all this stuff we're going to talk about happened.
That's pretty cool.
Isn't that crazy?
We could have her on our next episode. The further we get in this series, if we continue, we could. Yeah. She'll be old enough to start like having opinions on the news.
Oh, true. Like if she lives to 120. Like,
we're like in 1944.
Yeah. How did you feel about cars and the new
it's gonna
cars?
Be interesting though, because with no sight, her views will be like our 97.
Yeah. Everything is just.
Everything was dark and scary in 1944. Like,
yes. Her opinions are all whether or not something was too loud. It's all just like...
Wasn't that loud. It's fine.
quiet tones. I liked that one.
Or just how things felt.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Cars felt really cool.
Smooth.
Super
smooth to the touch.
And it's such a funny way to, like, live... I mean, not that it's her choice, but it's like, yeah... Feels smooth is good.
Yeah.
Not loud, good as well.
That's what it's like being blind.
Hey, God bless her.
Yeah.
Her grandma's a saint. Ooh, there's a
not yet, dude. She's still alive.
Well,
she's still alive.
A saintly woman.
I forget what they call you when you're a saint, or they think you're going to be a saint, but you're still alive.
Pre-saint.
Pre-saint.
All right. Well, you wanna get into these smooth rhymes
and good times here at the Moose Lounge.
Was that organic?
That was good. That was good.
Pretty
solid. Organic. I wasn't expecting it.
I knew. I was purposely looking the other way.
Yeah.
You know,
I got thrown off.
Nice, and I'm sure our viewers did as well. All right, fuck it. We're just drinking this little speck.
Yeah. So should we? All right. So let's do. Should I start?
Yeah.
Well, let's start. Do you want to pull up the link I sent you?
I will.
The link I sent you. So the first news story we're going to be covering is that what's this guy's name?
It's
Senator?
not much of a link.
That's all I need.
It's the paywall.
What's his name?
Senator Green.
Senator Green. So 100 years. This one was 100 years ago today. What's today? February 15th.
February 6th. Today's the 15th. This is the 16th.
Oh, was it? No, the news article is the 16th.
Oh,
but it happened on the 15th.
I see.
Senator Green of Vermont was shot by a dry agent, and no, that's not Brian in bed with a lady. That's those were the Prohibition enforcers.
That's not fair that you have that joke loaded up.
I've been thinking about it all day.
Oh my God.
But
they were the bullshit.
They were the guys that enforced the Prohibition, and on Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington D.C., one of these dry agents was having a shootout.
You gotta be careful when you say that. You sound like you're saying dry Asians.
Oh, dry agents.
Please pronunciate.
Agent.
This is the second case of
slurs.
Slurs that you're just tossing out because
slurred
of your
slurs.
Slurs. I forgot about that. Yeah. Yes, the dry agents.
Dry agents.
What would be a dry Asian?
Just an Asian on land. I don't know. What do you? An Asian in the desert.
I was thinking an Asian that doesn't drink. Like dry, not physically dry.
I go to like ocean or not.
Yeah, no, I clearly. Okay, good to know our dries are. I guess, does that make me an alcoholic? All right, continue.
But yeah, so this agent who is dry is having a shootout with a bootlegger, and the U.S. Senator Green is just walking around and gets hit in the head with a stray bullet.
Damn.
By the dry agent. It wasn't even the bootleggers. It was the federal agent shot him into the head because he tried to walk. He was near a firefight.
He didn't hear the bullets firing off?
I don't know, dude. Maybe just bullets were always firing off 100 years ago.
It's just a common
He was like, another shootout in front of the White House. It was on Pennsylvania Avenue.
No, there's no way bullets were that. I mean,
no, obviously not. But he was caught by surprise.
Was this guy like a badass?
No, the senator was just walking by. And what's crazy is that it was the federal agent that shot him.
Damn. Did that guy get in trouble?
Surprisingly, he's not really. They don't zoom in on him in the article. It's mostly about this senator. So he's shot in the head. He lives though.
Well, that's why.
Well, yeah, I guess so. He's paralyzed and has like he not the best life after.
Bummer.
I think he dies like 6 years later or something, complications in his surgery.
He's probably pretty old, still in the 30s.
But imagine, egg on your face. You're a federal agent. You shoot a senator. Also, you're a federal agent. You're having a shootout on Pennsylvania Avenue. Already, things aren't looking good for your career.
Yeah.
Step one is keep it away from the White House.
Like, get the guy off Pennsylvania Avenue, then have the shootout?
Yes. That's for Jefferson Avenue. Like, that's just somewhere else in the city.
New York Avenue.
New York Avenue.
Get that shit out of here. Damn. I mean, the guns back then, what were they shooting?
100 years ago? No. Something better than muskets.
How
I think
much
revolvers are around.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess so. Yeah, because like they had revolvers.
I think. All right, so this is This is not long before World War II. Or
But
World War I is just finishing.
World War I was
1918.
It's still pretty. I guess they're not muskets.
They're not muskets, but yeah, they're guns.
Yeah,
they're not like it's not fire once and then reload for. No,
I played
minutes.
COD. World War II. It's
probably like a
clips and one
of those. Yeah,
but that's not a shootout. What I'm thinking. I mean, I guess it is.
Well, shootout in the city, it's probably pistols they're using.
And was it multi people this shootout, or was
it was at least a dry agent and at least a bootlegger. So at least 2 people were in a shootout.
I think that is the minimum amount of number for a shootout.
It's not a shootout.
You're just shooting.
If it's just you.
I guess that is still a shoot. No, you're not shooting out. You're just shooting. It's just a shooting.
Yeah.
Damn, so shootings were, even in the 100 years ago, they were just happening on fucking Pennsylvania Avenue?
It's hard to imagine today, like a Secret Service agent accidentally shooting a congressman. You know what I mean? That would be insane.
Well, step one is get the congressman out of there.
Yeah.
Like, the congressman is not casually walking by a shootout.
I mean, I would love to know. I wish they did a better job describing the context. Like, I wonder who was at fault. Like, did he unwittingly go towards the sound of gunshots, or was he just there and it happened?
Or was like the guy shooting so ass with aim, just like, or he trips, like shot that way?
Because the amount of sympathy this guy deserves depends heavily on how he got involved.
Circumstances
in this shootout.
requiring, but again, it's 1924. I feel like they weren't really on their reporting game at that point. I guess audio is still rolling, so I'll just describe what's going on. We had Eddie set up the phone this afternoon.
Fuck, I just stopped the recording for a second.
Why?
Just for 1 second, so it's 2 videos, don't worry.
I guess that...
Let me make sure this is really in here. I thought it was really in here.
Well, I usually do it the other way. Like, where the camera's flipped around.
It's too late for that.
Yeah, definitely. We can't switch frames. I think this is good. This will be like our get big moment. Like when someone walks out on a podcast, our phone just walked out on our own.
Yeah. You see that?
Bradley Martin walked out, or no, what's his name?
Dana White.
Dana White, yeah.
Walked out on Howie Mandel.
Yeah. It looked staged, and that is like always happening.
You think so? I think literally
I think that happens so often on podcasts for staging, but it did seem genuine.
It seemed genuine. Like, because when I watch the interviews with Dana White I've seen, I would be surprised if he agreed to some stunt like that just to help Howie Mandel promote his podcast.
But we don't really understand why he walked out.
Well, I think my hypothesis is that his publicist or whoever sets up a lot of these podcasts for him, and then he was on one and he's like, you know what? I've done a bajillion of these. Yeah. I'm done. And just walked out.
And when so Howie got caught in the... He was Senator Frank L. Green in this situation, just caught in the crossfire.
Just caught in the crossfire.
By his own fucking guy, too.
Oh, we're dressed this way because we're reporting on 100 years ago.
Yeah, sorry. We have...
Pipes. Because everyone smoked pipes 100 years ago.
I think so. Should we have been holding this? Yours looks so much more legit.
We should have had them in our mouth.
Tobacco just danced all over you.
Oh, my God.
I can't really hold my... If I put mine in my mouth, it's going to look a little suspect. Yeah, I can't really grip it. This is a gift from a cousin, mom and dad, even though I know you're not watching.
She might be. Your mom followed us on Instagram or something the other day.
Let's go, dude. Well, now they're all going to know who my mom is.
Yeah.
They're gonna
look at our recent followers.
Stay away. All right, so that was our first story.
That was story number 1.
And that one
was 100 years ago today.
That was the most on the date story that we have. Because a
I
couple
figured
of
we
these,
should have one.
Yeah.
But our theme is we're just doing stories from 100 years ago this month.
Correct.
So February 1924 is where we're focused. Why don't you take it away? What's one of yours while I light
I'm
this
noticing now that, yeah, you like that. You need your little, oh, you have a lighter. Why do you have a lighter, Eddie?
Because I smoke cigarettes.
Oh, God. We just lost 10 subscribers.
And
but we gained
1,000.
Excuse me. So my next story, we talked about it briefly beforehand. It's about, well, this is the wrong article that I have up because it's about the most recent gas murdering. But in February of 1924, the first person ever to be executed by gasoline, or basically poison gas, was performed in a prison. And I'll have to pull it up because... first gas execution. Yeah. It was a pretty crazy story. This guy was like a 22-year-old Chinese nationalist, apparently. I feel like anytime I read these stories about like young immigrants in the 1920s, they're like, he was convicted of killing his store, like a laundromat owner. I'm like, was he though? Like,
it's hard to tell.
Was there a lot of evidence,
Yeah.
or was he just Chinese in 1924? And
It's hard to give him the benefit of the doubt.
I know, but like he's just so young, and like he cried when they put him in this gas chamber. Like it was sad, and the guy was like, "Toughen up, bucko," or something. Like, so get up by your bootstraps, like the American way. So they basically were deciding like how to kill this guy because it was in Carson City, I want to say. I'm like, yeah, it was in Carson City, which is in Nevada. I was actually just in or around Carson City when I went skiing 2 weekends ago, and they only had the lethal injection stuff that they used to use in the 20s in like Los Angeles or something like that, or Chicago, I think. And they weren't willing to transport the lethal injection materials over to Carson City. So Carson City, in this prison, they were like, all right, how do we kill this guy? And they're like, let's just poison gas him. So they like tested it on 2 mice, and they basically just released gas, or it was kittens rather, more fucked up than mice. They were like, wait, what's a little more mean? Let's just go for kittens. And like gas would start to leak. So that was the biggest issue, that they didn't want to, because they needed witnesses. They were like, well, how are we going to make this a spectator sport? If we're going to kill this guy, we're going to need views. So their biggest concern was making sure that the room was like viewer ready, like they
viewer friendly.
Yes,
yeah.
Like their issue was that it was leaking gas, and that was obviously a problem. So that was like what took the most time. They ended up doing it in the butcher's shop because he had like the most sealed kitchen, and they built a window in this little like freezer area.
Oh my god.
And then they put this young 22-year-old in and just pumped gas, and it was like particularly cold that day, or warm rather, like the cooling system didn't work. So the gas was like pooling in the bottom of the room. He passed out in seconds, but then apparently he was like nodding his head for 10 or so minutes. Like clearly not a quick lethal injection. Like it's not supposed to be, more than a couple of seconds, I would imagine. And then they waited, like someone smelt eggs or something. So they evacuated for an hour, keeping him in there. And then they eventually came back in, waited for the pools to evaporate. So like another hour or two, and then they went and got him. And then when they were doing the autopsy, they were too scared to open him because they were like, what if he's got these gases?
Full of gas, yeah.
Full of gas. So they just left his body, and they were like, yeah, he's probably dead. So this poor guy got fucked. And it was what was the common for lethal injections for a little while until like the 70s. People were like, this isn't good. Like there were leakages, shit like that.
Yeah.
And they started doing lethal injections. And then it wasn't until January 2024. It's literally like the most recent one until the 70s. Alabama or Arkansas did their new form of lethal injection, but it was the gas. And it's apparently
the same gas?
It's a new gas. It's supposed to be like Alabama gases their prisoners with nitrogen in the first execution mech in decades. So
wow, This was recent.
Yes, this was literally in January of this year.
100-year anniversary of the first time gas was used.
It's kind of poetic, honestly.
They were thinking about it. They're like, well, it's 100 years.
And they have touted asphyxiation as the alternate for prison systems. So I guess it's...
Wait, say that asphyxiation? That's how they killed them?
They're like poisoning them to suffocation.
No, asphyxiation is just suffocation.
Correct, but with poison gas.
Okay. God, that's like drowning in air. It's a terrible way to go.
It's the most painless and humane method of execution known to man.
Like, is that really more painless than the guillotine? You know what I mean? The guillotine.
It's an asphyxiation or asphyxiated with nitrogen gas.
You're suffocating.
With nitrogen. I don't know. Gas does seem foolproof.
Well, the guillotine is 1 instant. It's half a second. Like, but how can you beat that speed to death?
I specifically remember reading that the guillotine guys would fuck up because it's like the blade would not be that sharp, or
with modern
it would
technology.
hit him in like the back instead of you have to hit it like right in the perfect spot of the neck.
Well, dude, we just use those hydraulic presses that are all over Instagram.
Man, that would you would get like explosions. The heads would be flying.
Well, I'm not thinking the whole person in there. I was just talking about push the blade down. The whole person in the hydraulic press?
No, but I think a hydraulic press coming down on a neck would cause more like splatter.
Oh yeah,
like
but the point is it would get through every time.
Yeah,
that's what
might go through the table.
That was what you said was the problem. Like, problem solved.
Well, sometimes I guess at that point you're just chopping the person in half. Like the guillotine was particularly effective because it hit like this perfect spot.
Yeah, dude, it's just a guillotine, but it's just as a hydraulic press on top of the fast one. So
I get it. Because like even if you miss, you're just gonna go through. But like you could just chop me in half at that point, or just no, because you're not gonna. That sounds like you would suffer for a couple seconds if I got chopped in half.
Well, you're definitely I mean, is less seconds than drowning in nitrogen?
I don't think you're suffering at all, though. I think it's just like
really.
It's literally been touted as the least painful way to die.
What did they do? Ask the guys after?
How
did they collect that data?
That's why it's so hard, though, because they don't know. But I would imagine they murdered enough kittens to tell their stress levels
and
were
kittens
low.
have 9 lives. The kittens came back, and they were like, that sucked.
Do not do that one. So it turns out death by pulling our toenails out is the most painful.
We were wrong all along. It's actually skinning them alive. Ugh.
Oh, God. This is super random. Did I tell you I got my dad to watch The Boys?
No.
He hated the first episode, and I was like, power through. Loved the rest.
Oh,
he was like, I was up till 4 a.m. finishing The Boys.
That's his new passion.
He's like, I tried to get your mother to watch it. Not a fan. I'm like, what was she not a fan of? The exploding penises? Or like
the miniature guy inside of your urethra?
the worst show to show someone's mom is The Boys. I would think. I can't.
Well, for him, it's his wife. It's different.
Let him check this out.
Yeah. Hey, honey.
I could see showing your wife. Be like, oh, you're going to love it.
This gruesome thing. Your mom would not like that show.
She hated it. Hated it.
I bet your dad definitely knew that and was like, this will be fun. I'll show her.
Well, I think, he's just like, oh, want to hang out? Like, want to watch this show? Like, Brian recommended it. And then now I'm the one. He's like, well, Brian recommended it.
This is what Brian's been watching.
Good God.
Yeah. That's funny.
All right. That's so
now it's back to me.
Yeah, unless you have any more things. I mean, do you have any more thoughts on lethal injection? I have a couple of thoughts.
Well, my thoughts, like I said, I watched this piece by John Oliver, and his whole gist was that basically there's a bunch of different ways that they execute people, and no one is sure which is the most humane.
As we were just
which we were just getting at. But like there was one that they used for a while where they would first inject someone with this paralysis thing that they thought stopped people from feeling anything. But now new research is like the person couldn't move, and then they would afterwards inject like the stuff that killed them. But apparently the paralysis stuff, some new data suggests that you can still feel while it's going on, and so these people were just suffering, but you couldn't tell because they couldn't move.
Brutal.
All this stuff. Like you watch it, and at the end, that's why I said it, it's like, is any of this better than the guillotine? You know what I mean? Guillotine's so straightforward. So so that was basically just like they do it all and they say it's the most humane, but again,
I think
what do you do? Ask them after?
Yeah. I would hope now if we're legally killing people, we gotta know what's like good or bad. I remember when I lived in a very dirty senior year home of college, and we had a ton of mice. And our landlord basically was like, yeah, just catch them. Like, I'll, support you guys catching these mice. I was like, okay. So thanks. We let them know that we had mice. They were like, yes, you do. So we had to catch a lot of mice. And the rat traps, like the ones that snap, don't work because the mice had enough food throughout our home that like the cheese or peanut butter we leave on those not sufficient. So what we would do is we put the glue traps where we would see them running. As soon as we bought glue traps, we caught like 10 mice that week. It was disgusting. And what they don't tell you about the glue traps is you now have to kill these mice. Like they're still very much alive, like struggling. All their legs are broken, and like the glue traps are fucked because you think you can like push off, but then now you're stuck there. Like I do fear being caught in a human-sized glue trap and panicking like that. Awful. But one of the internet's recommendations for killing is to like get a cup of bleach or like a towel and soak it in bleach and then basically put it next to the mouse and put a cup over it so that it just like inhales bleach.
Gassing the mouse.
You're gassing. And I was like, this feels awful. Like, it was. We didn't do that. We would just take a big rock and.
Oh wow!
But we would put a box over it so we didn't have to see. But I felt like that was the guillotine essentially, like a meteor hitting this mouse. Like we would pick a big heavy rock. Like it wasn't. There's 0% chance that this mouse is living. The gas just felt wrong. I was like, we're gonna watch this mouse like
it's
go to sleep.
Too calculated of a way to kill someone.
Right? Yeah. It felt too like I don't want to watch this thing die. I just want it to die because it's gotta die. But my roommate's girlfriend, when we had left, they got a mouse. She felt so bad because it was suffering and broken legs, and she was like, "Let's save it." So the only way to take a mouse off a glue trap, you have to like put vegetable oil on it or something to delubricate it. So my roommate told me he lubed this thing up with vegetable oil. 4 broken legs. They put it in the woods, and she felt so much better. Like, oh, we just saved the mouse. He's like, that thing is a delicious fucking snack that we just seasoned. Like some animals can eat it and be like,
cooked up nicely in vegetable oil.
Like, he's like, should we put salt and pepper on it? Yeah.
That was funny.
That is essentially us killing mice was what they were just testing out with. Actually, you're like, yeah. No, the mouse died pretty quick. I didn't hear any complaints.
Well, that's way more humane. I've caught one on a glue trap before. I just threw it in the trash.
Oh, but you can hear it.
But dude, I didn't want blood on my hands. I was like, let nature take its course.
You had delayed blood on your hands.
Well, I didn't even put out the glue trap. I just was in the house when it was successful.
Just following orders here.
Yeah, I'm just following orders, and orders were get rid of this mouse. And who knows, maybe there was also vegetable oil in the trash, and he made his way out. It's kind of like the movie The Revenant, but it's a mouse. I'm the bear.
Yeah, you were just the first protagonist in that film.
Gets caught, but thank God there's this vegetable oil. He bandages up his legs and crawls from the trash.
It's like the SpongeBob scene when they're on the table and they shed a tear. They're like about to die, but the tear like sparks the bulb and cries on them. A mouse, when we went skiing in Vermont when we were like 12, stowed away in my sleeping bag. And then when I got from your house in Vermont, and when I got home, I put my sleeping bag on the counter, and the mouse escaped. And my dad like woke us up, and he's like, guys, come shit.
It's a mouse.
I was just terrified. But
for a mouse,
he told his buddies, dude. He fucking made it from
He didn't tell Vermont. His buddies. That's a lifetime journey to get back to Vermont for a rat.
Yeah, you're right. He probably wrote to them. I would imagine he tried. I
made it, boys. Squeaked and was like, they probably
almost
heard
in
that.
The big city.
Almost in the
Fairfield County, not too far.
You think he did it on purpose? He's like, I'm sick of this small town, Vermont.
Yeah, dude,
I could be a star.
He's not a Vermont mouse.
He saw Ratatouille. He's like, it's possible for me too.
Ratatouille might not have even been out by then.
Might not have.
Those OG times.
It is crazy. It's a rat in Ratatouille.
Yeah,
they make him so adorable, but
he's way too cute.
A mouse is cuter.
I saw like Remy versus Stuart Little. Like, who would win? Stephen A. Smith did, like, a breakdown between the two. He's like, Remy grew up on the streets. He's gonna take that fucking pampered
Wait, remind me
ass-
which one Remy is.
Remy is Ratatouille.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I didn't know his
His name's
name.
Remy. Come on.
I'm not that close. I
know
can
the
still
guy's
call him
name?
Mr.
The chef?
Ratatouille. No, I don't.
Luigi.
Oh.
I love Ratatouille. It's a great movie. But yeah, Remy fucks up Stewart 9 times
For
out
sure.
of 10.
Starters, he's 10 times bigger because he's a rat.
Yeah, versus a mouse.
Step one. Yeah.
Right away. Stewart's
Uh-huh.
fucked. Although, you have a joke that if you... Am I allowed to
Sure.
air you? You can't fight a rich kid because you break his teeth, he comes back with nicer teeth. Like,
Yeah.
Stewart's totally come back with nicer
Oh,
teeth.
true.
He had like a fucking
his-
Ferrari or
His
something.
human parents to step on him. Oh, but then Ratatouille comes back with the human he controls.
oh, you
And
want
then,
it.
and then the Luigi has to fight
But-
Hugh Laurie.
Then almost he's like giving away his technique. Stewart's like, wait, we can control.
And it's
like
Stewart.
goes to the dad,
And then it's
goes
just-
to his 401k, like, transfers the
What I was
money.
gonna say, then it's just Pacific Rim, but for rodents, where they're controlling their humans to battle.
Yeah, all the rats, no, all the mice. No.
Yeah.
Did you know anyone that had a pet mouse or a pet? People have pet rats. I don't
pet
think
rats.
pet mice are as common.
No, I
I don't know anyone with either.
No, I don't know.
I used to follow this girl on TikTok who had a pet rat, and she fucking killed it by accident.
What'd she do?
She said it was like she had the saddest TikTok. The only reason I found her is because of the first TikTok where she was like, "Please, no one ask any questions. Like, I don't want to talk about it, but Bella has passed. She's like, it was a tragic accident." Every comment was like, "What happened? Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, tell us what happened." Obviously. And then in one of the further videos, she explained that, like, which it is sad because it did seem like a cool pet, but I guess like she would open the fridge and then it would occasionally snack or hop in, and she just shut the fridge on it and fucking killed it.
Oh no.
Which seems like that is such a weak pet at that point. Just shut, like, if I shut the fridge on my dog who's 10 pounds, he'd probably be fine.
He'd be fine.
Maybe not now. He's
Not
like
now,
100
but at his
years old,
prime.
but
Actually, dude, I don't know, dude.
he still would probably
might
be
break some
okay. Like,
bones,
he's
though.
bumped his head 1,000 times. You know, like
Yeah.
dogs would eat.
Bumping your head and having the fridge shut on you is different for a dog
Well,
that size.
No, I mean, like, if Petey, my dog, was, well, I don't even think a rat weighs a pound. Like, what are they, under a pound? Like,
Yeah.
it is like you're stepping. You could step on it.
You could step on
You can't kill Petey unless you were like intentionally
Also, just-
trying to punt him.
Yeah.
You're not going to step on him and maybe now.
I was like, dude, everything you're saying, I'm like, maybe. Maybe he would die.
He's so old.
His
Love
dog
him
is so
to
old.
tears, but he is 1,000 years old.
Yeah. And so tiny. He's not much bigger than a rat.
No,
He's
but
maybe
I mean,
3
big
rats on
dogs
top
don't
of each
live
other.
long. That's the whole point. Like, you don't see a dog that's over 40 pounds over like 12, 13.
Yeah.
That's pretty rare.
Yeah, of course.
And then you see these little yappy dogs that
They
are
live
like
forever.
21 years
Uh-huh.
old.
Because they've never taken a step in their life. They've been carried everywhere by their owners. Like,
Oh,
no
man.
wear and tear. Their body is still brand new.
If I had 2 of my moms, PD would be like living in, you know, like super luxury post-life care, or what is it, like end-of-life care, you know, where they're
End-of-life
just like
care.
flying in a wheelchair kind of thing. But because my dad is involved, PD lives like a pretty normal end of
That's nice. That's what you think end of life care is.
well
Flying in a wheelchair.
for a dog.
It's more like
I'm thinking
morphine as
of,
you suffer.
Hannah's,
End of life
Hannah's
care.
parents' dog.
Uh-huh.
Like, that's 2 of my mom's love for dogs in a dog. Like, Moose, we love Moose, we love Hannah. Her parents definitely drug that, or what's the word I'm looking for? Extended that end of life longer than it probably should have been, because the dog was like living in a baby bjorn and needed its.
Yeah, they went a little insane.
It's
When
but
you're
that's-
putting ice cubes to your dog's butt to get him
That's
to
what I'm
poop.
saying. It's a lot. Which
Neither of you
my
are
mom
enjoying
would do
that
that
relationship.
for PD, I promise. But my dad is so like go towards the light PD that's the mid ground. PD's getting a normal end of life dog love care,
Yeah.
because people do go crazy for the animals. I get it. Like, animals are the best when they're helpless. I don't blame Hannah's parents at all.
No,
for what
me
they did.
either. But just ice cube butthole thing is
It
hilarious.
is. It's brutal. You won't catch me. I loved my dog more than life, and like I would never.
Of course, dude. I might not do that for my own child. I might be like, I'm sorry, dude.
Well, my
but...
kid better do that for me, though. You better
Definitely.
I want
that.
2 cubes.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on to the next story. We're getting out of hand. Once you get a little tobacco, a little wacky tobacco in us, we're just getting crazy.
It's back to me. So another exciting thing that happened.
I don't think you sent me this one.
There's no good link for this one. But you can find it. It's out there on Wikipedia and stuff. 100 years ago in February 1924, the Greenwich Observatory began broadcasting radio signals every hour on the hour. They would do the last, I think it was 5 seconds of the hour, and they would just broadcast it out over radio. And the reason
six pip?
Sorry?
The 6 pip?
That might be what it's called. The last 5 seconds and then the hour. That sounds reasonable. But basically what this would do, it used to be the case that sailors, British sailors, the way that they would tell one of the ways they would tell how far they are from England, they would determine their longitude, I think it was, is they had a clock on board that displayed as best it could the current time in Greenwich, and then they would calculate the current time where they were using like the sun and stuff. And they would, depending on the difference between those two times, that's how they would tell.
Interesting.
And so, and Greenwich was considered the official spot.
GMT?
That was always, yes, Greenwich Mean Time. That was always like the main reference point. And they used to have this big ball. I think this is the origin of the ball that drops on New Year's. But they used to have this big ball that would drop every hour, so that if you were a sailor out in the harbor, you didn't have to come back in. You could reset your clocks. Remember, clocks suck. They go out of time pretty quickly then. Mm-hmm. You could reset your clock just seeing this ball drop every hour without having to actually land.
That's pretty sweet.
It was. But then, in February, I think it was February 5th, 1924, they began broadcasting these radio signals and basically made it obsolete. So now you could figure out the time in Greenwich just with your little radio receiver. And outdated
Greenwich
these
time signals, what it's called, the GTS.
Yeah.
Popularly known as pips.
Pips. And they still used to have, I think it was called chronometers.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So you could just basically tune in your radio, wait like at most an hour
to
find the bip, and then you'd know.
Yeah.
And then it would tell you which pip it is.
Well, it presumes that you have a rough idea. it's to make it more precise. Yeah. Like you still have your clock, like your watch set to that time, and then you're like, okay, let me make this fine tune it.
So there are 6 pips in total, which occur each of the 5 seconds leading up to an hour, and on the hour itself, each pip.
On the hour is like a bigger pip, I think.
Oh, so that's if you want to like really clock.
Well, yeah, because you have to be so specific.
Why?
Because, I mean, if it's a few seconds off, I guess you'll think that your longitude is off by some degree.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. You need it to be super precise so that you can be more precise in calculating your own location on the ocean.
That sounds so complicated.
Yeah.
Like, do you have to know how fast you're going exactly?
No, not for this. For this, you need to know that time.
You just need to know where the sun is?
Yeah. They would use the sun or the stars to determine the time,
what time
where they are. And then they would compare it to Greenwich time.
Wow.
And that's how they would determine their location, the longitude.
That's got to be so much. Who thought of that? That's crazy.
Pretty crazy.
That is very, very smart.
Yeah.
And so, like...
Basically, the radio signals made that way easier.
And then now I just have a fucking Apple Watch. Yeah. It's like, 725. You're good.
Wow. I thought that was crazy.
That is crazy. 100 years ago, too.
Yeah.
So...
How long has GPS been around? Like, how long was that important? GPS is like the last... Not even 20 years, really. Like 15 years.
More than that.
GPS? Like commercial GPS.
I'm thinking, like, commercial GPS? Yeah. Like
when did TomToms come out?
Like, early 2000s. Oh, GPS 1973, but...
Yeah, but that's like the military, commercially.
2004.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah,
when people really started using GPS.
I remember they were expensive too, especially back then. They were like $300 for a Magellan or something. And now it's literally your phone is...
It's everywhere. You can't get away from GPS.
You can't get away from GPS. Yeah. Everything's telling you to take a left here versus back then I remember there were like some would tell you the street names and some wouldn't, and that was like a big price difference. It was like an extra $200 to hear the street.
That's crazy. I don't remember that.
I mean, I remember going to, I think it was Staples with my mom, and she compared a dozen models, and that was a big, well, these will tell you, because it was like had to be essentially connected to the internet, or it had to get updated for the names, which is silly, but like I remember you had to like download the new maps. Like, oh fuck, this your streets just dropped. You hear this new street
I do.
on?
I remember downloading the new.
Yeah.
They just released this street.
They just dropped this new street, dude. It's
If
crazy.
you pay extra, you can have this unreleased
right
street.
off Long Ridge.
You can have this unreleased street early if you pay the premium subscription.
Right.
Subscribe to my
street's
OnlyFans
name?
for some premium streets.
Premium street name.
But yeah, so that radio ping, I guess, if you said GPS came out in the 70s, was really only useful for like 50 years. Something like that.
It's still probably important for those 50 years.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, get crushed.
Yeah, it was great.
I feel like 50 years is actually a long time for a technology to be relevant.
Well, no. What about the wheel? What about sword,
Well, you're thinking big scheme,
bow,
though, but like
an arrow,
there's
pot?
a lot of things that haven't lasted 50 years.
Yeah, for recent technology, it's a long time.
Well, when you think of like a bow and arrow, a gun is the modern day bow and arrow. Kinda.
Yeah, I would say that the gun and bow and arrow are different. But bow and arrows as like the...
And a wheel, it's like self-driving cars don't really need a wheel. That's like in the...
Yes, they do. What's their other option?
Oh, for you, it's like what you...
That's what they roll on.
Sure. A wheel is
not a
way
car
too
anymore.
rudimentary. I meant more like
You
a
use
steering
triangles?
wheel.
Oh, okay. No, I was thinking literally the wheels they roll on.
That's not really as much as an invention as just
Sure
like
it is.
a... Yeah, no, it's obviously an invention.
Yeah.
But it's just like... Okay, sure. The first things have lasted a long time.
Well, things
Like,
in
do you
general...
think an iPhone is going to be around in 50 years? That's what I'm saying.
No.
Like
Well,
a modern invention.
yes,
will last
that's
50
what I
years.
said. For modern
Fuck
inventions,
you for
it's a
bringing
long
wheel in.
time.
You knew what I was talking
I think
about.
that's actually a normal amount of time. So, like,
I
technology...
think 50 years is like a... Yeah, exactly. That's like a
Yeah, they have, what is
standard-
it, Moore's Law? Like, technology increases at an exponential rate.
Correct.
That one has to do with, like, the number of circuits or whatever, and so it's something more specific. But,
For all you circuit
so,
freaks
like,
out there.
well, it's interesting, because if you think a few hundred years ago, it fits the theme of the podcast, the stuff your dad learned was going to be so useful for you, because he could tell you, and you were dealing with all the same shit. No longer the case.
No.
Like, the stuff my dad knows about writing letters, or I don't know, shit.
Well,
like...
Yeah, but like...
Some of it is, but like
Some.
The practical knowledge is
like
not
how to
as
change
vast.
a tire, stuff that
But it used to be like virtually 100% of the stuff your dad used every day and had to deal with, you were then going to use.
Correct.
Now it's almost nothing.
I mean...
There are very few things.
It's not nothing because when you're like young, you do want to like know how to do things that are relevant to then. But when you're your dad's age, nothing will be what you're doing the same, essentially. Like a 50-year-old and a 20-year-old still have things in common that they have to do.
Yeah, sure. I just meant like for physical things. Like there's the human experience you can be wise about, and that will always be there. But you know, my dad's never shown me how to find a setting on the iPhone. Like,
Well, that's the reverse, dude. My dad has called me how to send an email. I'm like,
Yeah.
come on.
My dad calls me for all that stuff too.
But I guess that's just how I'm gonna be when I feel it already. Like,
You think so, or do you think that?
no, I think we're fucked. Like they're gonna have VR buttholes, and I'm gonna be like, I don't know how to program your VR.
You're not going to
butthole,
work your
son.
way around a VR butthole?
I don't know, man.
That's going to be...
That's the line.
That's where you top out technology-wise, VR butthole.
Once VR goes to the butt, I'm out. That's where I dip out. But I'm not even kidding. They're gonna be so. We can't even like conceptualize what the stuff they're gonna have, and I don't think we're gonna be able to keep up. I won't want to keep up. I'm gonna love my VR headset.
But I think
and they're
like
gonna
there's...
have buttholes and.
I think that
gonna
we're
be so
a little
much.
bit of an advantage because now that screens are so common, there's like a default interface, you know? Like you have the thing you're using, there's a settings function somewhere. If you want to change that, you go to this, all these stuff, even if how you access it changes, you have that groundwork. Where our parents didn't have any of that groundwork. It was all being established when they were younger.
Different groundwork. They're gonna have neural links. They're gonna have no apps. Like it's gonna be a new game.
Maybe.
I totally think so. I think Neuralink's the move.
You think so?
We were talking about the Zuck shitting on Apple
Mark
Provision.
Zuckerberg, yeah.
And one of the things he mentioned was how their keyboard is like, he's like, it's okay, but I personally think that if you're going to be as fine-tuned with a keyboard, you need a controller or a Neuralink. And like him saying that just makes me know that that's going to be the next thing.
A Neuralink?
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
I
don't
mean, it
know.
makes sense.
It's
Like,
just...
I don't want to be fucking around with my hands if my brain is doing it all at the end of the day. Like, my hands aren't doing it, my brain's doing it. So, like, if I could just avoid the movement, kind of makes sense to me.
I think with Neuralink, though, if someone gets it installed...
When I get a fucking ad installed into my eyeballs, yes, I'm going to be annoyed when I'm sleeping and I wake up to a fucking whopper.
You didn't do the paid version. So you only get to sleep 3 hours at a time.
When my Neuralink subscription runs out and I just have headaches.
But the thing with stuff like Neuralink is it only takes one to go terribly wrong, and it'll set back the release date like 50 years.
Yeah.
Because it's so delicate and experimental, and no one's going to trust it at first.
Yeah. What's
kind of like self-driving cars. Self-driving cars get in fewer accidents than people, but because it's a robot doing it, it has to be perfect, or no one will trust it.
Well, is that a mindset though, or is that like how we should truly feel? Because no doubt computers are better than driving.
Well, I think it's you can be like, that was your fault when a person crashes. When your AI crashes.
My bad, dude. It was the fucking robot.
You could be like, well, it was the shape of the cloud in the background threw off the algorithm.
I think
no driving during cumulonimbus. Yeah.
Sorry, we're talking about we'll eventually take ownership of that. Be like, okay, any accidents are on us, sure, but then like, it's all one system kind of thing.
Yeah, but
then that needs to be the answer. Like, not that they're all on one system, but they're on a system that connects. Like, if all the driving cars are on the same platform, essentially.
Oh yeah, and they're all driving cars.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you have no other humans out there.
Self-driving cars. They're all already driving.
And I think then accidents go down to like 99.9%. No issues, and that's where people are like, okay.
I was going to say go down to 99. What are they at now? 100% accidents?
Yeah, we're just fucking. I mean, realistically, if you as a human just drove until you died, you're gonna get into one accident.
Yeah, probably.
Like especially the older you get, like it's just
drove until you died. Yeah, the older you get, the more likely you are to crash.
Yeah, of course. I mean, my grandpa.
I wonder if that's like
should not have been driving 10 years ago, and he was.
How old was he?
He's 96 now. When he was like 80s, he was driving home, and it's like, I don't know. You had like 2 glasses of wine, and like you were already a bad driver.
An 86-year-old is drinking, driving.
Yeah, Hector was definitely a fun guy.
I guess you get to that age, and you're like, what are they gonna do to me?
Yeah, exactly.
Throw me in jail?
And like, it was a minivan. Someone would usually follow him home, and it was out in the Hamptons, Greenport.
Someone he knew.
Like a family member.
Okay.
Like someone would be like driving home too. And I just remember being in that car once, and I was like, Hector should not be driving. Like, he was just bad at driving. He was an old man. Like, he was bad at walking. Like, no kidding, he's bad at driving. It was he definitely doesn't drive anymore, but I don't think it was long after that they were like, no.
There should be, like, you reach an age, you got to take a driver's test again.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And I'm sure we're going to have different mindsets when we're 70, 80, but like...
Oh, for sure. Not me. The next generation.
Yeah.
The guys that are old now and the guys that are old after me should have to do that. But not me. Not me when I'm...
Definitely not me.
I'll be fine. I'll tell you. I'll let you know if I feel like I'm not up for driving anymore.
We're already at 44 minutes. We're only
let's get the last... one more story from you.
Yes. This
from
one...
100 years ago.
This one's kind of dark.
Oh, yeah.
It's the first trial of Adolf Hitler.
Yes.
His very first trial.
Very first
Which
one.
I didn't know too much about. You mentioned it to me, and I believe you mentioned that it was his first attempt to...
Yeah, I don't know a ton about this one, but it was his first time on trial. He was already part of the Nazi Party, and they were doing like some... Wow, did you hear that?
Yeah, it was a train or a bus. It wasn't a train, obviously. It was a bus.
Was that not from your laptop?
No, that was outside.
Wow, it's crazy. But yeah, basically Hitler was on trial for... we should know this, but he started some kind of like... he was causing too much of a ruckus.
The failed coup known as the beer hall push.
There it is, the coup. He was hosting a coup with the Nazi Party, and it got put on trial because obviously the coup failed. That'd be bad if the coup succeeds and then they put you on trial. But...
Dude, I thought this was Hitler I was like, wow, Hitler looks
that is not
crazy.
Hitler.
He's the author
good
of this book.
Yeah, what a good photograph.
I was like, he looks amazing.
He should have never done the stash.
He ran the coup?
There. Yeah, so 100 years ago this month, Hitler was on trial for the first time, and it's the one that made him popular. It put him in the presses.
Which is crazy that they put him on trial first, and he was like, no, I'm innocent. And then he turned, like, imagine if that trial went south for him.
Well, I think he was found guilty, but I think he was just sentenced to a few years in prison.
Oh.
It's bad we don't know this.
It just didn't work?
Just to Google the beer hall.
Hitler was in fact found guilty, but his
Yeah.
prison time would amount to just 8.5 months.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be 5 years.
God, that's light for a coup. Coup feels like
I should be
20
cooing
years.
more
Yeah,
often.
dude.
8
That's what's at
months.
risk. 8 months. Don't let the other don't let anyone else know about that. Coups were left and right.
He concluded his speech by claiming that even if he was found guilty, the eternal court of history would acquit him. I think he was wrong there.
I think he was wrong.
That was his
Although,
most...
to be fair, he doesn't get a lot of crap for this coup.
Honestly, you're right.
No
He was
one's like,
no.
God, I hate
They're
Hitler
only
because of the beer hall coup.
This is dangerous water.
Yeah, I think that's safe to say that he's done worse things.
I think so.
This was not high on the list
You hate
of bad
Hitler,
things
but
he's
only
done.
for the beer hall.
That'd be-
Like, oh man, he was just so stupid with that first coup. Everything else, fine. But that first stupid
He had that coup in the beer hall? The beer hall. He's a German. He should know better. This is not the place for coups.
just inappropriate. Time and place, Hitler. Time
I can't get over that sentence of 8 months for a coup.
He brags about being guilty, but he got a slap on the wrist. It was out before the end of 1925.
That's nuts.
A year after the verdict was delivered.
Try to overthrow the government, and they're like, hey, cut
Stop
that
right
out,
now.
you.
You go hang out in this minimum security prison for a couple of months.
Uh-huh. Cool your jets.
And then...
And, well, you won't do
see.
this. We know
We'll
you
see
won't
if
try
feel
this
the same way
again.
afterwards. You were saying some crazy stuff, all right?
Yeah.
So cool it. We'll talk after.
Well, the law
It's
has
like detention.
The law has changed in 100 years. You probably will not get away with a coup in that.
Oh, I mean, like, you stepped a foot in the Capitol, and I'm pretty sure you're, like, in jail for
Yeah, I think
6 years.
they're still hunting those guys down.
Oh, well, they're still getting them. They pretty much, I mean, in 1924, I think it was a little less security
Oh
surveillance.
yeah, you were
and
never
more
finding
like
those guys. No cameras.
nothing.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's like everyone was recording. It's
Yeah.
kind of, it went from 0 to literally 100%
So much.
recording,
got-
especially in the Capitol. Like, I can't imagine there's a less recorded area.
Dude, I bet the FBI just like went to Snap Maps that day and clicked on that location to see. That was their eyes on the ground. Was
Dude, people's
Snapchat?
Instagram stories were literally used to prosecute.
I'm sure.
I can't, I
Yeah.
mean, people posted themselves.
And I bet depending on their sentence and how many followers they got because of that, they were like, worth it.
400 likes.
Yes.
It's a
Although
lot of
6
likes.
years. It depends on it depends on how much they got sentenced. How many subscribers per year in prison? What do you think's the transaction there?
How many years do you think the shaman guy got?
The guy with the horn hat?
Yeah. Because he was definitely he was.
I know
one of
he's the
bigger
most
ones.
famous one from it. I don't really know.
I don't even know what's.
I have no idea. Just the capital. Just do January 6th Viking horn trial. It seems.
Q Shannon Amen. That's what his name is.
Oh, Q Shaman. Shaman? Shaman?
QAnon Shaman.
QAnon Shaman?
That's like-
I'm the Quan Shaman.
He's sentenced to 41 months.
Oh, I thought you were about to say 41 years.
Dude, look at that.
It's like, what did he do in the...
I'm very promiscuous. 41 decades. 41 lives.
41 minutes.
41 months. So it's like 3 years.
Yeah.
That's pretty ass of jail.
It's a long time.
I-
But now, how many followers does he have on Instagram?
Considering Hitler got 8 months, I'd be pissed.
True. I wonder if he brought that up in the defense.
Hitler got 8 for
He's
running
like,
the coup.
For real? You guys are going to treat Hitler better than me? This is...
Yeah, who's the animal now?
That's his defense. Dude, I'm going to use that. I mean, for traffic tickets.
Yeah, right? Like,
Hitler only got 8 months
if you're going
for
to
a
jail
coup.
for a traffic ticket, what the hell did you do?
Well, I just mean my fine. I'll start doing math, the breakdown of how bad a
8
coup
months
is.
in prison is in 1924. That's equivalent.
Yeah, and
to
then
40 grand.
And then the judge is like, "This is a German court from 100 years ago. Things have changed."
Yeah.
This is also, this is not Germany.
This is America.
And you have a $40 fine. Just
us
I
your
don't.
money.
Now that I think about it, it doesn't apply.
When I got a speeding ticket in Connecticut, or it wasn't a speeding ticket, it was like a traffic violation. I was very determined to fight it because I didn't feel like I did anything wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't, honestly. And I like consulted my neighbor who is a lawyer. We like took photos of the light that they said I got like stopped for not stopping long enough at a red light and taking the right on red. He said I only stopped for 1 second instead of 2, which is crazy. And I like took photos. I was like ready to go to court to like fight this. I was representing myself, and I go at like 10 a.m. on a Monday. The court lady says my name, and she's like, okay, go talk to there was like the judge, and then there was like the prosecutor, I want to say.
Okay.
So I just go over to the bench, and the prosecutor, I had to like write a letter, and she was like, this is a very nice written letter. Did your mother help you? And I was like, yes, she did. She was like, okay. So it was a, I don't know, $200 ticket with points. And she was like, what if we, what we're going to do is we're going to remove the points, and instead you're just going to pay a $70 fee to the courts, and, you just make sure you're never driving, blah, blah. Like, she talked really fast and was just like, here's what we're doing. And I was just like, oh, okay. And then she stamped my shit, handed it to me, and she was like, okay, good job. Like, congrats. And I turned around, I was like, thank you. And I turned around, and I was like, this is just another ticket. It was a $70 court donation fee. Like, I was basically just giving the court money. And she treated it like you're not getting points. Like, you
I guess that is good. No points.
It was. And that's why in the moment I was like, cool, no points. But then I turned around and I was like, I had a folder of evidence. Like, I was ready to like fight this. Like, I didn't feel like I did anything wrong. And then she was like, yeah, you didn't. So here's, just donate to the court. And I was so mad when I was handing them that $70. I had to pay cash. I was like, okay. Had to hand them over to like a teller. It was ridiculous. I was...
The cash only justice system.
Like, are you kidding me? Like, pissed me off so much. So next time I might bring up Hitler got 8 months, actually. So actually, I don't think I deserve anything. Not to full circle that.
I don't know. It was nice. You tied it in. You brought it back.
Reeled it back in.
Hitler. Yeah, but that's what was going on 100 years ago in February. 1924, February. Also, Gandhi got released from prison because he was sick.
Yeah.
But
we didn't know if that was newsworthy.
We went for radar signals, radio signals.
And Hitler.
Well, because it's like Gandhi's done cooler things than get released from prison.
Well, Hitler's done worse things than get 8 months.
That's also very true. Maybe we should have put Gandhi on there.
Gandhi over Hitler.
We should have put Gandhi on. Whatever. I'm sure he's done other things in the next few. I don't know. How old was Gandhi 100 years ago? What if he never makes it onto our pod because he dies right after that? When does Gandhi die?
When do you think Gandhi dies?
I bet not. Well, he was released from prison because he was sick. So I'm guessing not long after.
He lasted a long time, though.
Yeah, how sick was he?
Very Gandhi of him to not die for a while.
I have no sense of how old Gandhi was when he lived.
So
the British are still occupying India, right? That's what he's protesting.
Dude, I couldn't tell you a single thing about Gandhi, if I'm being honest.
I'm pretty sure.
I know he was bald, mad skinny.
I think that's it. I think those were his things.
He was all about peace.
Yeah, lit himself on fire. Or no, he didn't.
Was he someone that like did a hunger strike?
It sounds like him.
It sounds
if you told me, I would believe you. I think it was the British. Google when he dies.
When did Gandhi die? Did I spell his name right? 1948.
Okay, so he lived 20 more years. Oh, dude. So Gandhi's going to do some cool shit.
I was pretty sick.
We'll get him in a future month when we review 100 years ago.
I was going to say, we got 20 years of Gandhi. 20 years of Moose Lounge.
Yeah, that's so many, dude.
That's crazy.
It's more than 1,000 podcasts.
We'll be getting old. I might die. Hopefully not.
Before Gandhi does?
No.
So, hey, how old was he when he died?
He was assassinated. Did you know that?
No. I'm realizing I know very little about Gandhi.
He was born in 1869. It doesn't say it right this second. He was 78.
78. Okay, so he's
pretty old. You know, assassinated by a gun.
He's in his 50s when he gets released from prison.
I had no clue. Who would fucking kill Gandhi?
Some British guy. Right. So we got to find out. He was fighting the British occupation of India, right? Control F for British on his page.
I might killed. I want to know who killed him on his way to a prayer meeting. Come on.
Maybe he
fired 3 bullets. A Hindu nationalist.
Interesting. I thought that would have been on his side.
He was a He was a member of the political party, the Hindu Mahasabha. I said that slow because I didn't know how to read it. A right-wing Hindu voluntary organization. It's getting pretty intense with this guy's beliefs. Dropped out of high school and then joined some RSS. Dude, I can't. These are just hard to
killed
pronounce.
Him. We get it. Political differences. This was
It's just shocking.
This was 100 years ago.
Some PD, man. A little political difference. 5 yards, PD. All right, Gandhi fucking got killed. If you had asked me how Gandhi died, I would have 100% guessed old age.
Oh, I would have guessed burned himself. You ever see those videos of the monks burning themselves alive?
No.
That was like a common form of not common, but common enough that there's a stereotype around like Hindu protesters would light themselves on fire.
I thought it was, I will not eat until I get my rights. That was what I would have stereotyped.
Well, I'm sure they had more than one approach. It's not one or the other.
Yeah, it's a multifaceted attack.
They're like, are you lighting yourself on fire? We are a starvation protest.
Or a starving plan. Wow, at least, dude, how many people do you think went to his funeral?
Oh, 20,000.
Over 1 million.
Oh my God.
A 5-mile long funeral
Well,
procession.
if you're 5 miles away,
It took 5 hours to get to the fucking house.
if you're 5 miles away, are you really at the funeral?
Well, no, it was a line. It was
Yeah. So they all got to go there eventually.
It was 1 million people joined a 5-mile long funeral procession that took over 5 hours to reach his house.
Oh my God.
And another million watched as the procession went by. So there were people in line.
And people
going,
watching.
And then just another
the
million
line.
like, fuck that line. 20% of the people were like, no.
The guys watching are like, we like Gandhi. Not that much.
5 hour lines.
They were like, we'll catch him at one of his local shows. The line, we can get tickets easier.
Was there TV in the 40s? No.
In the 40s, I think it's just coming out.
When was television invented?
I think 30s. Actually, yes, TVs are around in the 40s.
1927.
The 1930s Olympics was the first one televised.
We could talk about TV in 3 years.
Hell yeah.
27.
Nice, dude.
That's sick. Dude, look at that first TV. That's
I know it's
badass.
ginormous, but then
no,
it's
it's not
like,
even big.
Well, it is big, but the screen is tiny.
Well, I can't even zoom. I'm sure you can see. It just looks like a radio.
Yeah, it's like this huge cabinet just with a tiny little screen in the middle. Imagine if like you put your iPod Touch on a dresser. That's roughly what an old TV
iPod Touch
is.
might be better.
Might be better quality graphic color. That's a big step.
Yeah.
A big step up already.
Definitely better sound.
Yeah.
Although I do love a good. When were records coming out?
Before that,
Before when?
records?
Yeah.
Way before TV, dude.
I mean, this is 1927.
Yeah, records are into the 1800s.
Really?
You're talking about like just a stencil, dude. It's a very analog technology. Records.
1890. That's crazy.
Yeah.
When were vinyl records, though?
Isn't that what you're talking about?
Well, I feel like vinyl records is a more mainstream.
Well, it was the same technology. It's the needle on the grooves.
Vinyl Ventures lost their first commercial playing record in 1930. Okay, that feels... And then it grew to popularity. Because, like, I'm sure TV came out in 1927, but, like, no one had TVs.
No one had TV.
The 30s, 40s, realistically.
Yeah. Dude, even my dad, he was born in 1950, and
Wow.
he was, at, like, 12, he was the first person on the street to his family to have a TV.
Hell yeah, dude.
Isn't that wild?
Big flexing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a TV. No big deal.
Yeah, it's whatever. The four of us squint and gather real close.
To watch
watch one of 3 channels.
4 channels, right?
Yeah,
Like
nothing.
But why would you have more than 4 channels if 4 people have fucking TV?
I mean, dude, and if you've never had a TV before, 4 channels is a ton. That's a lot of channels.
You went from 0 to 4. You went from -0. You
That's
didn't even know what a
crazy.
TV was.
Uh-huh.
This has been very satisfying hearing the yes, very ASMR. Well, it's like
I've did it. I heard.
you got a little clues.
Yeah, I got a little. Nice. I think let's redo jokes. Nice. Oh, some of the jokes this week are question answer. So like, it'd be like, You got to ask me. So like an example. This is not my joke, but it'd be like or Mike Stan's joke. It'd be like, how do you hide an elephant in a cherry tree?
How?
You paint its toenails red. You know what I mean?
Okay.
One of those. So yeah, pick without looking. Pick 2 of those. Oh, I think you got. Can you read them?
I think.
I can't even remember what ones those are.
Can we mute our mics for a second?
Sure.
Are you unmuted now?
Yeah, we're unmuted. Sorry, we had to clarify some of the joke. Well, we'll see how that goes over with everyone else. All right, I'll go first.
Should I go pause or no pause?
For what? Follow your heart. Whatever your heart tells you.
Okay.
What's the hardest thing to do when you're in a fight with your fat girlfriend?
What?
Be the bigger person.
That one's pretty good. I wish I got that one.
Yeah, I was hoping you didn't because I was excited for that one.
I mean, okay.
Go for it.
Who's the most likely person to ride a microwave?
I don't know who.
A micro surfer.
Micro surfer.
Micro
So a real tiny surfer for a real tiny wave.
Tiny
Tiny
surfers
surfer.
for the microwave.
For the microwave.
Which are real waves, in case you didn't know.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they exist.
That means they can be shredded.
Yes.
If it's out there, it can be shredded.
If the wave exists, it can be shredded.
Anyone, Point Break.
Right? That's like the true surfer. He's looking at the microwave. He's like, I fucking
Like
know.
one day.
If I was just a micro surfer,
just
if I was a
tinier.
little smaller.
Curse my size.
Fuck, those waves look gnarly.
The smaller you are, the more things you can consider a
Dude,
wave.
If you think about it, the microwaves would be pretty gnarly. Just flying out.
Oh my dude! And in half a second, you're splattered on the wall. It was a short ride.
It's the ride of your life.
Well, did you ever hear that story about they were receiving a radio? Like they have a bunch of telescope or satellite dishes pointed to outer space that collect radio waves, and they form the cosmic microwave background. It's used for a lot of research. And at one point, they were receiving radio waves that looked to them like communication, and they were like, "What the fuck are we seeing?"
They're freaking out.
They're freaking out because they're thinking like alternative life form trying to contact us. No, it was an episode of I Love Lucy that had been broadcasted and bounced off either a meteorite or another planet and ricocheted back towards Earth perfectly. And so like 40 years later, we were getting the episode of I Love Lucy broadcast
so
back
crazy.
to Earth because it had ricocheted.
And it took that long to come back.
Yeah, because who knows what it hit? Because the radio waves just go. Space is a vacuum.
Wow.
And like radio waves,
And it probably came back all choppy and shit, right? Like, or was it?
I'm
clear?
sure the signal wasn't great. I'm sure that it wasn't.
Lucy. What are they saying?
It'd be suspicious if it comes back HD.
Yeah, right.
It comes back color.
or with like edits, like remix.
Just a new character. A whole new character.
Black now.
The aliens edited it, and they're like, you know what we would like?
Lucy's gay and black,
Yeah.
and trans, and all this.
It's like South Park.
2020.
Make her gay and make her lame.
That was. I don't watch that much South Park. That one I watched and I was tearing up.
It's
like
so
it was
funny.
a pretty solid episode.
I watch a lot of South Park. Still made me laugh. All right.
Now it's my turn.
Oh, no, it's not. We just did Micro Surfer. I think we talked about I Love Lucy.
Fine.
This is not a question and answer, so I'll do this to the audience. I recently got a small tattoo of a wave on my rib cage because I want to remember how cliche and unoriginal I am at this time in my life.
Yeah, that is like the trademark.
This is a typical. This will make me quirky and unique.
Oh
no,
man, this is gonna fucking look sick.
sick. No one's ever thought about a wave tattoo.
Like,
no one connects to the ocean like I do.
the ocean is my home, brother.
I feel at peace here. Me and the
I
ocean.
could totally see myself getting like a mountain tattoo.
Yeah, totally. With the same mentality.
Nah, I love mountains.
The mountain is my home. Other people like mountains. I love mountains.
Nah, you think you love mountains? I love mountains.
You like them this much?
You see this shit?
Yeah. On your
I'm
body.
bled for mountains. All right. My roommate in college was a little person.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And we were both in long distance relationships, I guess.
That must have been tough.
And yeah, like my girlfriend was 400 miles away,
Mm-hmm.
and his girlfriend was across the street.
That must have been tough.
It was.
Similar travel times if you're walking.
It took us about the same amount of time,
the same amount of time to reach
walk to each other. And
the difference is he could longingly see his girlfriend.
it was actually harder for them to see each other constantly.
Yeah, tempted.
Equally
just across the street in the window is your
Really,
Dude.
yeah. A Romeo and Juliet-esque.
So close yet so far.
Dude, Mike Stan's getting a little risky with these jokes.
He is. Well, that's not that risky. Well, you know, I watched. That was good. You made it in the hoop light. I wrote that little. Michael Stan wrote that little person joke a while ago and was hesitant to do it. Mm-hmm. But there's this. I want to say his name is Brad King or Brad Gold. There's a stand-up comedian who's getting popular, and he's a midget or a little person, whatever.
Whoa!
He says midget. Point is, he's so lackluster with the jokes about his size that it gave me confidence to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And took him so well. He's on a podcast with Mark Norman and Sam Morril, and they're both hitting him with midget jokes constantly. And he's just rolling with them because you have to. He's a comedian. He was so good.
A little person comedian that is making fun. You're just absolutely gonna get made fun of. Like no question. Anyone that goes into comedy with any sort of like noticeable thing,
you gotta own it.
You gotta, because otherwise it's just gonna get fucking. You can't be lame about it. You have to embrace it.
But it's so fun because Mark Norman's all zingers. So just every other sentence he said, it was always just zinger about him being small.
He can't help himself.
Yeah, it's just
sometimes they're not great, but like.
But it's just rapid fire.
Delivers them with the same level of like
confidence,
passion. Yeah, and it's like, oh god. But a lot of them do hit. He's good.
Yeah, he's funny. If you watch this.
That picture we took together.
Yeah, I have a picture of us. We're close. You asked me if I was hard.
Here?
Yeah.
Should we put one edit? No. You got to do it in post-op.
Okay.
One editing request.
It's just gonna be Mark.
Yeah. No, the picture of you two. I want to hear in my hand.
Yeah. Sure. Nice, dude.
Cool.
I think that's the app.
All right. Cheers to the 1920s.
Yes, a tip of our hats
specifically
to the last 100 years. Yeah, we should have cheers the last 100 years or something. God, it even rhymes. It would have gone great.
Moose Lounge. Good rhymes, smooth times.
Cheers to the last 100 years.
It's smooth rhymes and good times, and cheers to the last 100 years.
God, dude, we got to episode 100. Our whole podcast is just this long rhyme we made up.
It's just a rap song.
It gets longer with each segment we think of.
All right. I'm gonna stop recording.
Bye, guys.
There's no reason to clap.
It's to let them know it's done.
We're still live.
Yeah. Now
bye.